In Las Vegas, under the electric haze of the MGM Grand, a mouthy superstar was about to turn his own spotlight into a firing squad. What began as another choreographed showdown for the cameras turned real when Chuck Norris decided to answer an insult in person. Travis. The Titan Cole wasn't your typical showman. For 15 years, he'd built an empire on bravado, an undefeated champion whose every flex drew both adoration and fury. But behind the pyrotechnics and fanfare was a man who'd never faced anything unscripted. When Chuck Norris stepped out of the crowd and into the ring, Travis thought he'd engineered the ultimate viral moment. He didn't realize he was inviting a living weapon into his fantasy world. Norris's calm silence and surgical precision cut deeper than any finishing move and left a generation watching in stunned disbelief. What began as a taunt for attention became a lesson in humility. The Las Vegas arena would never forget the night. A loudmouth titan met quiet mastery and fell without a single punch being thrown. Before we jump back in, tell us where you're tuning in from. And if this story touches you, make sure you're subscribed, because tomorrow I've saved something extra special for you. The lights dimmed across the MGM Grand Arena in Las Vegas, leaving only the harsh spotlight illuminating the wrestling ring at center stage. 20,000 fans rose to their feet, cell phones glowing like fireflies in the darkness. The announcer's voice ricocheted off the walls. Ladies and gentlemen, presenting the undefeated, undisputed champion of professional wrestling, Travis the Titan. Cool! Eddie. Echo. Vance, the promoter's favorite hype man, stretched every syllable until his voice cracked. The crowd erupted as smoke machines hissed and pyrotechnics exploded along the entrance ramp. Through the artificial fog strutted Travis Cole, 6'4", 250 pounds of sculpted muscle, adorned in electric blue tights emblazoned with lightning bolts. His platinum-dyed hair was slicked back, his smile practiced to perfection. Travis raised both arms, drinking in the adoration. Half the arena chanted his name, while the other half booed viciously. It didn't matter which, he commanded every eye in the building. Love him or hate him, you can't ignore the Titan. Eddie's voice boomed over the speakers as Travis climbed into the ring, bouncing against the ropes, playing to the crowd with exaggerated gestures. In the opposite corner stood his opponent, Roy, the veteran Matthews. 20 years in the business had earned him respect among purists, but never the championship. At 45, his body showed the wear of 2 decades of punishment. His entrance had been subdued, no pyrotechnics, just modest applause and a few loyal fans holding weathered signs. He stood quietly, stretching his shoulders, mentally preparing for what everyone knew would be another brutal, Titan takedown. Ringside, Mia Alvarez adjusted her earpiece and checked her microphone levels. At 32, she'd built her reputation as the most insightful interviewer in combat sports. A former amateur wrestler herself, she understood the technical aspects better than most commentators. More importantly, she recognized the difference between showmanship and substance. "We're live in 30 seconds," her producer whispered. Mia nodded, watching Travis as he strutted around the ring, pointing at fans, blowing kisses to women in the front row, cupping his ear mockingly at those who booed. "The Titan looking confident as always," she said when the red light blinked on her camera. "Roy Matthews brings experience to this match, but Travis Cole brings that unstoppable momentum, 17 straight victories, all by submission or knockout." The bell rang. Travis and Roy circled each other. The veteran moved cautiously, his eyes tracking Travis's movements. Looking for patterns, weaknesses, Travis grinned, bouncing on the balls of his feet with performative energy. When they finally locked up, Roy attempted a technical hold, but Travis powered through it, shoving the older man against the ropes. "Too slow, old man," Travis taunted, loud enough for the front rows to hear. This isn't the 80s anymore. The crowd roared, some in approval, others in disgust. Travis fed on both. For 6 punishing minutes, Travis toyed with Roy. He'd allow the veteran to nearly execute a move before countering with explosive power. Each time, he'd pause to play to the crowd, flexing, pointing, trash-talking. The match was less competition than spectacle. Backstage, Coach Reggie Brooks watched the monitor, arms folded across his chest, expression grim. At 62, with salt and pepper hair and permanently furrowed brows, he'd seen the sport transform from athletic competition to theatrical entertainment. As Travis's trainer, he'd benefited from the change financially, at least, but something in him mourned what had been lost. "He's showboating again," Reggie muttered to no one in particular. Disrespectful. In the ring, Travis caught Roy in his signature move, the Titanic, a modified powerbomb that he delivered with unnecessary force. Roy's body slammed against the mat with a sickening thud. The crowd gasped collectively, then erupted. Travis didn't go for the pin immediately. Instead, he climbed the turnbuckle, posed with his arms extended, soaking in the moment. 3 seconds later, the bell rang. Another victory. Medics rushed to check on Roy, who lay motionless for several concerning moments before finally stirring. Travis paid no attention, already celebrating, leaping from one turnbuckle to the next, his music blaring through the arena. "Your winner and still undefeated champion, Travis the Titan Cool." Eddie's announcement barely rose above the crowd's reaction. Mia entered the ring, microphone in hand, positioned herself next to Travis, who was breathing heavily but grinning through the sweat. "Travis, congratulations on another dominant performance," she began professionally. "Dominant? That wasn't even a workout." Travis grabbed the microphone from her hand. "Is this all they've got for me? These has-beens and never-wheres? I'm operating on another level entirely." The crowd's response intensified, approval and disapproval crashing together in a wave of noise. "There's nobody in this business who can touch me," Travis continued, pacing the ring. "Not these so-called wrestlers. Not these MMA pretenders. And definitely not those Hollywood martial arts legends who've never taken a real hit in their lives." Mia raised an eyebrow, sensing dangerous territory. "You're referring to all of them," Travis cut her off. "Your Bruce Lees, your Steven Seagals, your Jean-Claude whatever's movie stars playing tough guys." He paused, a calculated gleam in his eye. "And especially Chuck Norris." A collective intake of breath rippled through the arena. Mia's expression shifted from professional neutrality to genuine surprise. "Chuck Norris?" she repeated, offering him a chance to back down. "Yeah, Chuck Norris." Travis doubled down, his voice rising. "America's favorite Texas Ranger. Everyone thinks he's some kind of untouchable martial arts god because of internet memes and B-movies. Well, I've got news for everyone. That roundhouse kick might look good with camera angles and special effects. But in my ring," he pointed down emphatically, "he wouldn't last 60 seconds. That's not disrespect, that's reality. Movie fighting and real fighting are different worlds. I live in the real one." The crowd's reaction split dramatically. Younger fans cheered Travis's audacity, while older spectators shook their heads in disbelief. Social media would explode within minutes. Backstage, Reggie closed his eyes briefly. "Damn it, Travis," he whispered. Mia tried to regain control of the interview. "Those are strong words about a martial arts champion with multiple legitimate titles." Travis laughed, cutting her off again. "Legitimate? Those tournaments from the Stone Age? Please. I respect what the man accomplished in his era, but this is 2025. The game has evolved. The legends need to stay in their lane making movies and selling exercise equipment. Leave the real fighting to those of us who do it for real, in front of real crowds, with real consequences. He turned directly to the main camera. So Chuck, if you're watching this from your ranch, or wherever I'm issuing an open invitation, come to my ring. Prove me wrong. Show everyone you're more than just movie magic. I'll even go easy on you, promise. He winked, then handed the microphone back to a visibly uncomfortable Mia. Back to you at the commentary desk, she said quickly. As Travis's entrance music blasted again, he exited the ring, slapping hands with front-row fans, oblivious to the gravity of what he'd just done. The roar followed him all the way up the ramp and behind the curtain, where Reggie waited, arms still crossed. "What?" Travis asked, wiping sweat from his forehead with a towel. "You know what?" Reggie replied, his voice low and serious. "Of all the legends to call out, you picked him." Travis laughed. "Relax, coach. It's just promotion. Nobody takes this stuff seriously anymore. It's all part of the show." Reggie shook his head. "Some men aren't part of any show, kid. Some men are exactly what they appear to be." Travis rolled his eyes, already checking his phone as notifications flooded in. "Holy shit. I'm trending #1 already." He scrolled through comments, retweeting those that praised his boldness, ignoring critics. The digital roar was just as intoxicating as the arenas. "This is how you stay relevant," he told Reggie, who remained unconvinced. "Tomorrow morning, every sports show in America will be talking about me. Chuck Norris probably doesn't even watch wrestling. And if he does..." Travis grinned. "Well, all publicity is good publicity, right?" As they walked toward the locker room, neither noticed the event producer rushing past. Phone pressed to his ear, eyes wide with disbelief. "What do you mean he called?" the producer was saying. "Called who? Our network president? About what?" He stopped dead in his tracks. "He's coming to next week's event? Chuck Norris is coming here?" But Travis was already lost in the virtual applause, surfing the wave of his own making, oblivious to the real storm gathering on the horizon. The week following Travis's challenge passed in a blur of media frenzy. Sports networks ran the clip on constant rotation. Social media exploded with memes, debates, and predictions. The wrestling promotion's ticket sales for the next event doubled overnight. Travis reveled in it all, booking appearances on morning shows and podcasts, doubling down on his challenge at every opportunity. "I stand by every word," he told the hosts of Sports Morning America, leaning back in his chair with practiced casualness. Chuck Norris was great in his time. But that time has passed. These old-school martial artists never had to face the kind of athletes we have today. The female host smiled diplomatically. "But surely you recognize his accomplishments. 6-time world karate champion, undefeated for 7 years. "Against who?" Travis interrupted. "Other guys in pajamas doing choreographed moves for points? I'm talking about real combat, not demonstrations." Backstage at these appearances, Reggie would shake his head silently. But he'd stopped trying to rein Travis in. The promotion's executives were ecstatic about the publicity. Merchandise sales had spiked. The viral moment had transcended wrestling circles and penetrated mainstream awareness. Only once did Reggie make a final attempt to warn him. "You're playing with fire, son," he said as they drove to the arena 3 days before the next event. "I've been in this business 40 years. I've seen fighters come and go. The loudest ones usually fall the hardest." Travis hardly looked up from his phone. "The business has changed, coach. It's about entertainment now, not just fighting. Besides, what's the worst that could happen? Chuck Norris isn't actually going to show up. And if he does?" Reggie pressed. Travis laughed. Then I'll shake his hand, take a selfie for Instagram, and we'll both cash in on the publicity. He's 70-something years old, for Christ's sake. Reggie turned his attention back to the road, his knuckles white on the steering wheel. There are some men who don't age like the rest of us, he said quietly. Some skills don't fade. Some disciplines run deeper than technique. But Travis had already returned to scrolling through his notifications, deaf to anything but the digital applause. 2 days before the event, rumors began circulating. Chuck Norris had been spotted at McCarran International Airport. Then, at a downtown Las Vegas hotel. The wrestling promotion neither confirmed nor denied anything, happy to let speculation drive interest even higher. Mia Alvarez pursued the story diligently, making calls to contacts throughout the combat sports world. She finally connected with a former student of Norris's who agreed to speak off the record. All I can say is that Chuck doesn't take public challenges lightly, the source told her. Not because of ego, but because he believes in accountability. If you say something in public, you should be prepared to stand behind it in person. Mia pressed further. But he's not actually going to fight, right? I mean, age is just a number to Chuck, the source interrupted. He still trains 2 hours every day. He's not interested in proving anything to anyone except himself. But he doesn't appreciate his life's philosophy being mocked as a gimmick. After the call, Mia sat quietly in her hotel room, contemplating the story developing before her. What had started as typical wrestling promotion was veering into uncharted territory. She'd been covering combat sports for 10 years and had developed a cynical eye for manufactured controversy. But something about this felt different. There was a collision of worlds happening, the noisy, bombastic world of entertainment wrestling and the quieter, more principled world of traditional martial discipline. Her phone buzzed with a text from her producer. Confirmation. CN will be at the event. Front row ticket purchased. Not a publicity stunt. Keep quiet until we announce live. Mia felt a chill of anticipation. The story had just become much bigger than Travis Cole's ego. The night before the event, Travis sat in the hotel bar with 3 women he'd met after his gym session, holding court with stories of his rise to fame. His phone buzzed with a text from Reggie. Meeting. My room. Now. Travis excused himself reluctantly. When he arrived at Reggie's room, he found the older man sitting rigidly on the edge of the bed, staring at a laptop screen. What's so urgent that it couldn't wait until morning? Travis asked, leaning against the doorframe. Reggie turned the laptop so Travis could see the screen. It displayed an email from the event producers with the subject line, Important. Norris attendance confirmed. He's coming, Reggie said flatly. Front row. No cameras, no entourage, no special treatment requested. Just showing up like any other ticket holder. Travis blinked, momentarily speechless before regaining his composure. So what? This is perfect. The ratings will be through the roof. We'll acknowledge him in the crowd. Maybe I'll throw a few lines his way during my promo, and everyone goes home happy. Reggie shook his head. You don't get it. This isn't a publicity stunt for him. My source says he's coming because he believes in answering challenges in person. Old school honor. Even better, Travis exclaimed. The fans will eat that up. Maybe we can even get him to stand up and say a few words. This is gold, coach. Travis, Reggie said, his voice dropping to a near whisper. I need you to listen carefully. Tomorrow night, drop the arrogance. Show respect. Make a joke about how you were just promoting the show. Extend a handshake. Turn this into a moment of unity between different eras. Travis frowned. That's not my brand. People come to see the Titan, not some apologetic fanboy. Your brand is going to get you hurt, Reggie said bluntly. Chuck Norris isn't coming to play along with your script. Travis stared at his coach, then burst out laughing. You're actually worried? About what? You think a senior citizen is going to beat me up? This isn't one of his movies, coach. Reggie stood up slowly, looking every day of his 62 years. No, it's not a movie. That's exactly my point. In movies, the loudmouth sometimes wins. In real life, they usually get humbled. He sighed deeply. Just be smart tomorrow. That's all I'm asking. Travis rolled his eyes. Fine, whatever. I'll read the room when the time comes. Now, if you don't mind, I've got better company waiting for me downstairs. As Travis turned to leave, Reggie called after him. Travis, one more thing. He waited until the younger man looked back. Chuck Norris has never sought the spotlight. Men who don't need attention are often the most dangerous when provoked. Travis offered a mock salute and closed the door behind him, already forgetting the warning as he texted the women waiting in the bar. The morning of the event, Las Vegas buzzed with anticipation. Ticket scalpers commanded premium prices. Social media tracked Chuck Norris sightings across the city like a digital manhunt. News vans lined up outside the arena hours before doors opened. Inside, during the final preparations, Travis went through his pre-show ritual. A light workout, a spray tan touch-up, a review of the night's match card. He was scheduled to face another up-and-comer, a simple showcase for his talents, nothing that required significant preparation. His real focus was on the promo he'd cut afterward, with Chuck Norris watching from the front row. Telling and preparing this story took us a lot of time, so if you are enjoying it, subscribe to our channel. It means a lot to us. Now back to the story. Maybe I'll challenge him to get in the ring right then and there. Travis mused aloud as the makeup artist powdered his face. That would break the internet. Nearby, Eddie Echo. Vance warmed up his voice for the night's introductions. Just so you know, he said between vocal exercises, management wants you to acknowledge him but not provoke anything physical. Legal reasons. Travis scoffed. Legal reasons? He's a martial artist. I'm a professional wrestler. What's he going to do? Sue me for offering him the spotlight? Just passing along the message, Eddie shrugged. They're nervous upstairs. This isn't the usual script. That's why it's going to be memorable. Travis replied, checking his reflection. Nobody remembers safe. As the arena filled and the preliminary matches unfolded, a current of electricity ran through the crowd, unlike anything the regular attendees had felt before. This wasn't just about wrestling anymore. It was about a collision of worlds, a confrontation between different definitions of strength, skill, and respect. Backstage, Mia Alvarez prepared for what might be the biggest night of her broadcasting career. Her producer's voice came through her earpiece as she reviewed her notes. Norris has arrived, he said simply. No entourage, no fanfare. He's being seated now. Camera 3 has him, but we're under instructions not to put him on the big screen until after Travis's match. Mia felt her heartbeat quicken. Is he saying anything? Making any statements? Nothing. He declined all interview requests. He's just watching, like he's studying everything. Mia nodded to herself. That aligned with everything she'd learned about the man. He wasn't here for attention. He was here to address something directly, honorably, and on his own terms. The main event approached. The atmosphere in the arena tightened like a drawn bowstring. 20,000 people collectively held their breath, many of them scanning the front row, trying to spot Chuck Norris among the VIPs. And there he was, dressed simply in jeans and a button-down shirt, no entourage, no security detail. Just a man watching quietly, his face expressionless, his presence somehow filling the arena despite his stillness. The calm before the storm had never felt so charged. The main event's opening pyrotechnics exploded with enough force to make the arena tremble. Travis's entrance music, a custom track with heavy bass, and his own voice sampling throughout, blasted at ear-splitting volume. The spotlight caught him at the top of the entrance ramp, where he paused in his signature pose. Arms extended, head tilted back, basking in the reaction. Love or hate, it didn't matter which. Introducing the undefeated, undisputed phenom of professional wrestling, Eddie's voice boomed through the speakers. Travis, the 23 cool. Travis strutted down the ramp with exaggerated swagger, pointing at fans, blowing kisses, flexing his muscles at strategic intervals. The routine was familiar to regular attendees, but tonight it felt different, more deliberate, more provocative. Even his most loyal supporters sensed he was performing for one specific audience member. As he approached the ring, Travis's eyes darted to the front row, scanning until he found him. There, sitting perfectly still amid the standing, cheering fans around him was Chuck Norris. No reaction, no acknowledgement, just watchful attention. Travis's step faltered almost imperceptibly before he recovered. Bouncing up the steel steps and vaulting over the top rope into the ring, he circled the perimeter, playing to each side of the arena, but his gaze kept returning to that motionless figure at ringside. His opponent, a promising rookie named Damon, the Demon Jackson, was already waiting in the ring, looking both nervous and determined. The match that followed was supposed to be a showcase for Travis's talents. A relatively easy victory before his post-match interview. But from the opening bell, something was off. Travis's timing seemed a split-second delayed. His trash talk lacked its usual conviction. His attention wasn't fully on his opponent but kept drifting toward the front row. The Titan seems distracted tonight, Mia commented from the broadcast table, careful not to explicitly mention why. At ringside, Chuck Norris remained absolutely still. No cheering, no booing, no reaction to near falls or high spots. Just studied observation. His presence radiated something that made the spectators around him increasingly self-conscious about their own behavior. In the ring, Travis attempted his signature sequence of power moves, but his execution lacked its usual crispness. After a sloppily applied headlock, he caught Damon in position for the Titanic. But as he lifted the younger wrestler for the powerbomb, his eyes again flicked toward Chuck. The momentary distraction was enough to throw off his balance, and both wrestlers tumbled awkwardly to the mat. A murmur ran through the crowd. This wasn't part of the script. Travis scrambled to his feet, visibly frustrated. He glared at Damon as if the botched move had been his partner's fault, then charged forward with renewed aggression. The next 2 minutes saw Travis abandoning any pretense of storytelling, simply overwhelming his opponent with brutal, stiff strikes that made the referee lean in with concern. Easy on the headshots, the ref cautioned. But Travis ignored him, driving Damon into the corner and delivering a flurry of closed-fist punches that blurred the line between performance and actual violence. The crowd's reactions split, some cheering the intensity, others growing uncomfortable. At the broadcast table, Mia kept her commentary professional but couldn't hide her concern. Travis seems to be working with unusual stiffness tonight, she noted, using industry terminology for unnecessarily hard hits. Finally, Travis set up his finishing move properly, hoisting Damon high, before driving him down with thunderous impact. The 3 count was academic. Travis had won, but the victory felt hollow, marred by sloppiness and overcompensation. His music hit as he stood over his fallen opponent, chest heaving, sweat pouring down his face. The celebration was mechanical, lacking his usual exuberance. His eyes kept returning to the front row, where Chuck Norris remained expressionless, unmoved by the spectacle. Medical staff entered the ring to check on Damon, who was selling the finisher with appropriate drama. Travis barely noticed, already moving to the edge of the ring, where Mia waited with microphone in hand for the post-match interview. "Travis," she began professionally. "A decisive victory, but—" He snatched the microphone from her hand, cutting her off mid-sentence. The arena quieted in anticipation. This was the moment everyone had been waiting for. "Another night. Another victim," Travis began, his voice rougher than usual. "Is anyone surprised? Is there anyone in this industry who can actually challenge me?" He paced the ring, gesturing expansively. "I've beaten everyone they've put in front of me. Former champions, up-and-comers, MMA fighters trying to cross over." He stopped pacing, his gaze fixing on the front row. "And yet, people still talk about the legends of yesteryear like they'd stand a chance in today's world." The crowd's energy shifted palpably. Phones lifted higher. Every eye in the arena darted between Travis and the still-seated Chuck Norris. "I see we have a special guest in attendance tonight," Travis continued, his voice taking on a mocking edge. "The man himself, Chuck Norris, decided to accept my invitation." The camera finally cut to Chuck, projecting his image onto the massive screens above the ring. A roar erupted throughout the arena, part cheer, part shocked exclamation. Chuck's expression remained neutral, his posture relaxed but attentive. "Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for a legitimate martial arts icon," Travis said, gesturing toward him with exaggerated deference. "Movies, TV shows, internet memes, the man's done it all." He paused for effect. "Except step into my world." The crowd's reaction intensified, the atmosphere electric with tension. "Now that you're here, Chuck," Travis continued, leaning against the ropes facing him directly, "what do you think? Impressed by what real combat athletes do? A little different from the choreographed stuff you're used to, isn't it?" In the front row, Chuck remained silent, his gaze steady and unblinking. The contrast between Travis's animated performance and Chuck's stillness was stark: noise versus quiet, motion versus stillness, showmanship versus composed confidence. "No comment?" Travis pressed, his smile tightening. "That's okay. Actions speak louder than words, right? That's something we can agree on." He straightened up, moving to the center of the ring. "So, here's an idea. Since you came all this way, why not make it worthwhile? The fans would love to see Chuck Norris step into a wrestling ring, wouldn't they?" The crowd exploded, chanting, "Chuck! Chuck! Chuck!" Backstage, Reggie Brooks closed his eyes briefly, muttering, "Don't do it, kid. Just let it go." In the broadcast position, Mia leaned forward intently, all professionalism momentarily forgotten as she watched history unfold. "I'm not talking about a real match," Travis clarified, his voice rising above the chants. "I know you're—" He paused meaningfully. "Well, let's say past your prime. Just come in. We'll have a friendly exhibition. Throw a few of those famous kicks for the cameras. I promise to make you look good." His smile twisted into something less friendly. "I'll even let you land one, for old time's sake." The crowd's chanting grew louder, but Chuck remained still, his expression unchanged. The camera stayed fixed on him, capturing his calm in stark contrast to the chaos around him. Travis's confidence seemed to waver slightly at the lack of response. He switched tactics. "Or are you worried about your legacy?" he pressed, his voice harder now. "Afraid people might see the difference between movie fighting and real fighting? Between camera angles and actual combat?" Still nothing. The silence from Chuck was becoming its own form of power, a void that Travis desperately tried to fill with more words. More provocation. Let me make it simple, Travis said, dropping all pretense of respect. I'm inviting you into this ring right now, just you and me. No scripts, no special effects. Show everyone that Chuck Norris is more than just myths and movies. The arena held its collective breath. 20,000 phones recorded the moment. Millions watched the live stream. Chuck Norris finally moved. It wasn't dramatic. He didn't leap to his feet or make any grand gesture. He simply stood, smoothly and economically, like a man who had perfect command of every muscle in his body. He was shorter than many might have expected, not imposing in size, but radiating a centered presence that made him seem larger than his physical dimensions. The crowd erupted again, but differently this time, a sound of genuine awe rather than manufactured excitement. Travis blinked, momentarily thrown by the simplicity and power of that single movement. Chuck looked directly at Travis, making eye contact across the distance. He didn't speak, didn't gesture, just maintained that unwavering gaze. Travis recovered, grinning broadly. Look at that. The legend rises. He gestured toward the steel steps at the corner of the ring. Doors open, Chuck. No time like the present. Security personnel looked to each other uncertainly, unclear on whether this was part of the planned program. The event producer was frantically communicating through headsets, trying to determine how to proceed. Chuck began walking toward the ring, not rushing, not hesitating, a measured pace that somehow commanded the space around him. The fans he passed fell silent as he moved by them, as if in the presence of something they didn't fully understand but instinctively respected. Travis's expression flickered between triumph and unease. This was what he'd wanted, the confrontation, the attention, the historic moment, but something about Chuck's demeanor made it suddenly feel less like a publicity stunt and more like a reckoning. As Chuck reached the ringside area, a security guard stepped forward uncertainly. Chuck simply looked at him, no words exchanged, and the man stepped aside, nodding with unexpected deference. Travis bounced on the balls of his feet, playing to the crowd with exaggerated beckoning gestures. That's it! The moment of truth! Let's see what the legend's really made of. Chuck ascended the steel steps with the same deliberate calm. The ring crew, acting on instinct rather than instruction, pulled back the middle rope to make his entrance easier, a sign of respect usually reserved for wrestling royalty. As he stepped through the ropes and into the ring, the atmosphere in the arena shifted again. What had been chaotic noise crystallized into focused attention. Even those who had come to see spectacle sensed they were witnessing something more significant. Travis and Chuck stood 15 feet apart in the center of the ring. The contrast was striking. Travis in his flashy wrestling gear, still breathing heavily from his match, shifting his weight restlessly. Chuck in simple civilian clothes, perfectly still, breathing controlled, and even eyes never leaving Travis's face. For several seconds, neither spoke. The crowd fell into an anticipatory hush. Well, Travis finally said, his voice carrying in the suddenly quiet arena. The great Chuck Norris finally steps into a real fighter's domain. He circled slowly, performing for the audience. I've got to say, it takes courage to accept a challenge at your age. Respect for that, at least. Chuck remained silent, turning slightly to keep Travis in view as he circled, but otherwise not engaging with the theatrics. Travis's smile tightened. He wasn't getting the reaction he wanted, neither fear nor anger. Just that maddening calm. He moved closer. You know, he said, lowering his voice but still audible in the hushed arena. Between us, professionals, the movies, the TV shows, it was all great entertainment. But this? He gestured to the ring around them. This is reality. No second takes here. No editing. No stunt doubles. Chuck finally spoke, his voice neither loud nor particularly forceful, yet somehow reaching every corner of the arena. "You're right, about one thing," he said. "This isn't a movie." 5 simple words, delivered without drama, yet they seemed to land with more impact than Travis's entire monologue. The crowd reacted with a collective intake of breath. Travis blinked, momentarily thrown off script, before recovering with a forced laugh. "He speaks! Ladies and gentlemen, the silent legend has a voice after all." He moved closer still, entering what would normally be considered threatening proximity. "So what now, Chuck? Want to show these people a real roundhouse kick? Maybe I'll let you try one on me for old time's sake." Chuck didn't back away from Travis's advance, didn't react to the invasion of his space. He simply remained centered, his voice even. "I didn't come here to perform," he said. "I came because when a man makes claims in public, he should be prepared to stand behind them in person." Another ripple moved through the crowd. Mia leaned forward at the broadcast table, suddenly reminded of her source's exact words from days earlier. Travis's smile faltered. The conversation wasn't following his imagined script. He'd expected either intimidation or escalation, not this calm assertion that somehow shifted the dynamic between them. "So what did you come to do exactly?" Travis demanded, a edge creeping into his voice. "Listen," Chuck replied simply. The single word hung in the air. Travis stared at him, genuinely confused. "Listen?" he repeated. "To what?" "To what you really want to say," Chuck explained, his tone neither condescending nor challenging, just matter of fact. "Behind the promotion. Behind the character. Man to man." Travis faltered. This wasn't the confrontation he'd orchestrated, not the viral moment he'd envisioned. Chuck wasn't playing the game by any rules Travis recognized. In the face of that steady gaze, Travis's carefully constructed persona began to feel paper-thin. "What I want to say," Travis finally responded, his voice louder, falling back on familiar territory, "is that respect is earned, not given because of some movies made decades ago. What I want to say is that legends should recognize when their time has passed." The words echoed through the arena, but they sounded hollow even to Travis's own ears. Chuck's expression didn't change, no offense taken, no anger triggered. Just that same steady evaluation. "You're right again," Chuck said calmly. "Respect is earned." He began removing his watch, then his button-down shirt, revealing a simple black t-shirt underneath. The deliberate, unhurried nature of these actions created a tension no scripted drama could match. Without flash or announcement, he was accepting the challenge that had been issued. Travis's eyes widened slightly. This wasn't supposed to happen, not really. The challenge had been performative, designed for publicity rather than actual confrontation. He looked toward the entrance ramp, expecting security to intervene, producers to cut the segment, someone to take control of the situation. But no one came. The moment had transcended the script. 20,000 spectators and millions of viewers held their collective breath, watching something authentic unfold in a space usually reserved for the carefully choreographed. Travis swallowed hard, then found his footing. This was still his ring, his domain. He forced a laugh. "Seriously? You're actually going to do this?" He gestured to Chuck's simple attire. "No warm-up? No stretching? At your age?" Chuck said nothing, simply centering himself in the ring, feet shoulder-width apart, hands relaxed at his sides. "You know what?" Travis continued, playing to the cameras. "I respect the courage. So let's make this interesting." He held up 3 fingers. 3 moves. You get 3 attempts to show me something impressive. Then we shake hands and call it a night. Deal?" Chuck remained silent, his gaze steady and evaluating. The lack of response unnerved Travis more than any trash talk could have. "I'll take that as a yes," Travis said, backing up slightly, theatrically rolling his shoulders. "Whenever you're ready, legend, give these people what they paid to see." The challenge hung in the air. The entire arena seemed to be holding its breath. Even the production team was transfixed, the usual quick cuts and camera changes slowing to capture every moment. Chuck didn't rush. He stood perfectly still for several seconds. His breathing controlled. His focus absolute. Then he took a single step forward. Just that one step. But something about the quality of the movement made Travis instinctively back up. There was an economy to it. A precision that communicated more than any flashy maneuver could have. "That's one," Travis said, trying to maintain his bravado. 2 more to go." Chuck took another step. And another. Each movement deliberate, measured, without wasted energy. He wasn't rushing toward confrontation but inexorably closing the distance with absolute conviction. Travis felt something he rarely experienced in the ring. Uncertainty. This wasn't following any script he recognized. His opponent wasn't playing to the crowd or the cameras wasn't playing at all. Travis backed up again, bumping into the ropes behind him. "Look," he said, his voice losing some of its theatrical edge. "I get it. You're making a point." Message received. He gestured around at the crowd. "They've got their money's worth. We can end this with dignity." Chuck stopped his advance, now standing just arm's length from Travis. Up close, the difference between them was stark. Travis's sculpted physique and elaborate wrestling gear against Chuck's unassuming presence in simple clothes. Yet somehow, it was Chuck who commanded the space between them. "Is that what you want?" Chuck asked quietly, his first words since removing his watch. "To end this with dignity?" The question wasn't mocking or challenging, it seemed genuinely inquiring, as if offering Travis a choice. The arena had gone so quiet that this exchange, though not shouted, reached the furthest seats. No one wanted to miss a word. Travis hesitated, caught between his public persona and a growing private realization. In Chuck's steady gaze, he saw something he hadn't anticipated, not anger or wounded pride, but a mirror reflecting his own choices back at him. "What I want," Travis began, falling back on his promotional instincts, "is to give these people a show they'll remember." Chuck's movement was so fast that Travis didn't register it until it was complete. One moment Chuck was standing still, the next, his open palm rested lightly against Travis's chest, directly over his heart. It wasn't a strike or a push, just a touch, but executed with such blinding speed that it left no doubt what it could have been. Travis froze, his words dying in his throat. The touch lasted only a second before Chuck withdrew his hand. But the message was unmistakable. "I could end this whenever I choose." The crowd gasped collectively. No one had seen Chuck Norris move just the result. "2," Chuck said quietly, referencing Travis's earlier 3-move challenge. Travis stared at him, genuine shock replacing his performative confidence. Whatever he had expected from this confrontation, it wasn't this display of controlled mastery. For the first time, he truly understood what stood before him. Not a relic trading on past glory, but a lifelong practitioner of disciplines he had never truly respected or understood. "You made a mistake," Chuck said, his voice still calm, not raised for dramatic effect. "Not in challenging me. That's your right. Your mistake was believing that mastery fades just because attention moves elsewhere." The words hit Travis with more impact than any physical strike could have. Around the arena, phones captured every second. But this wasn't the viral humiliation many had expected or hoped for. It was something more profound, a living lesson in the difference between fame and mastery, between attention and respect. Travis found himself at a crossroads. His instincts as a promoter told him to escalate, to turn this into the spectacle everyone expected. But something deeper, perhaps, the true fighter beneath the character recognized the moment for what it was. "And the third move?" Travis asked, his voice stripped of its usual theatrical quality. Chuck studied him for a moment, then extended his hand not in combat, but in the universal gesture of sportsmanship. "The third move is yours," he said simply. The choice was clear. Continue the provocation and face whatever came next, or accept the dignity being offered. For several seconds, Travis stood frozen between these options, the arena absolutely silent around them. Then, with a barely perceptible nod, he took Chuck's hand. The crowd exploded, not with the bloodthirsty roar they might have anticipated earlier, but with something closer to reverence, a recognition that they had witnessed something authentic in an arena usually dominated by the manufactured. As their hands clasped, Chuck leaned in slightly, speaking words meant only for Travis, inaudible to the microphones and cameras. True strength doesn't need an audience. Then he released Travis's hand, turned, and walked toward the ropes with the same unhurried purpose with which he had entered. The security personnel scrambled to lower the ropes for his exit, showing the same instinctive respect as before. Travis remained in the center of the ring, watching Chuck's departure. For once, he made no move to recapture the crowd's attention, to pull focus back to himself. Something fundamental had shifted not just in the arena, but within him. As Chuck descended the steps and began walking up the aisle toward the exit, the crowd parted before him like water. No autograph seekers, no selfie requests, just silent respect as he passed. Travis watched him go, standing alone in the ring that had always been his domain. The roar of fame that had defined his career seemed suddenly hollow compared to the quiet dignity of true mastery. The aftermath of Chuck Norris's appearance in the ring unfolded with surprising speed. Social media exploded with clips of the encounter, but not with the humiliation many had anticipated. Instead, the commentary centered on the display of controlled mastery, the dignity of the exchange, the visual philosophy lesson that had played out in real time. Travis Cole retreated to his dressing room immediately after the broadcast ended, ignoring the crowd of reporters gathering outside. Inside, he sat alone on a bench, still in his ring gear, staring at the wall. A knock at the door broke his trance. "Not now," he called out reflexively. "It's just me, kid," Reggie's voice replied. Travis sighed. "Come in." The door opened, and Reggie stepped inside, closing it firmly behind him. He didn't speak immediately, just took a seat on the bench opposite Travis, studying his protégé with eyes that had seen decades of fighters come and go. "You okay?" he finally asked. Travis ran a hand through his sweat-dampened hair. "I don't know what I am right now." "You're the same guy you were this morning," Reggie said. "Just with a new perspective." Travis laughed humorlessly. "Is that what you call what just happened out there? A new perspective? What would you call it?" Travis was silent for a long moment. "A lesson," he finally answered. "The kind you don't get from training." Reggie nodded slowly. "Some lessons can only come from experience." "He could have humiliated me," Travis said, his voice quieter than Reggie had ever heard it. "That's what everyone wanted, what they expected. Hell, it's probably what I deserved." "But he didn't," Reggie pointed out. "No." Travis shook his head, still processing. "He offered me dignity instead." "Why would he do that?" Reggie leaned forward, elbows on knees. Because men like Chuck Norris don't fight for attention or validation. They don't need to prove anything to anyone except themselves. Travis absorbed this, turning it over in his mind. What did I even hope to accomplish with all this? What was the point? You tell me, Reggie replied. You're the one who started it. Travis stood up abruptly, pacing the small dressing room. I don't know. Attention? Ratings? To make a splash? He stopped, looking at Reggie with unexpected vulnerability. To prove I'm more than just an entertainer? Reggie's expression softened. And what did you learn? That I've been measuring myself by the wrong standards, Travis admitted. Confusing noise for impact, mistaking attention for respect. He sank back down onto the bench. When he touched my chest, that move was so fast I didn't even see it happen. In that moment, I realized I've never actually faced someone with true mastery. A knock interrupted them, sharper, more authoritative than Reggie's had been. Mr. Cole? A voice called. Management needs to see you immediately. Travis and Reggie exchanged glances. This ought to be interesting, Travis muttered, standing up. They're probably trying to figure out how to capitalize on what just happened. Probably, Reggie agreed. The question is, what are you going to do about it? Travis didn't answer. Just pulled on a t-shirt and followed the production assistant down the corridor toward the executive offices. Meanwhile, in a quiet corner of the arena, Mia Alvarez waited patiently. Her producer had informed her that Chuck Norris had agreed to a brief interview, his only media comment on the night's events, on the condition that it be conducted without cameras, just recorded for audio. When Chuck appeared, he moved with the same quiet purpose he'd displayed in the ring. No entourage, no publicist, just a man keeping his word. Thank you for agreeing to speak with me, Mia said, extending her hand. Chuck shook it firmly. You have a reputation for fairness, he replied. That's rare these days. I'll try to live up to that, she said, gesturing to a pair of chairs set up in the quiet alcove. This won't take long. They sat, and Mia placed her recorder on the small table between them. I have to ask the obvious first question, she began. Why did you come tonight? You could have ignored Travis Cole's challenge like so many others have ignored similar provocations. Chuck considered this. There's a principle I've tried to live by. Face challenges directly. Not out of pride or ego, but because that's how we maintain accountability in the world. When someone makes a public claim, they should be prepared to stand behind it in person. And your decision to enter the ring, was that spontaneous or planned? I came prepared for whatever might unfold, Chuck answered simply. But I didn't have a specific agenda beyond addressing the challenge face to face. Mia nodded. What many viewers noticed was your restraint. You had the opportunity to humiliate Travis Cole in front of millions, yet you offered him dignity instead. Why? Chuck smiled slightly. Humiliation doesn't teach, it hardens. My goal wasn't to embarrass him, but to offer a different perspective. Travis Cole isn't my enemy. He's just someone who has confused attention with achievement, fame with mastery. A distinction that's increasingly rare in today's world, Mia observed. Yes, Chuck agreed. We live in a culture that often rewards the loudest voice rather than the most skilled hands. That creates a dangerous illusion, especially for young men trying to find their way. Do you think Travis learned anything tonight? Mia asked. Chuck was quiet for a moment. That's not for me to say. Learning requires willingness. I simply offered a moment of clarity. What he does with it is his choice. One final question, Mia said. What did you say to him in the ring? There was a moment when you leaned in, the microphones didn't catch it. Chuck's expression remained serene. That was between him and me, he replied. Some lessons aren't meant for public consumption. Mia nodded, respecting the boundary. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your integrity, Chuck responded, rising from his seat with the same fluid economy of movement that had characterized his presence throughout the evening. As he turned to leave, Mia couldn't resist one last question. Will you be watching to see what Travis does next? Chuck paused, considering. I'll be interested, he said simply, then walked away, disappearing down the corridor as quietly as he had arrived. In the executive offices, Travis sat across from three suits: the network president, the promotion's owner, and the head of marketing. Their expressions ranged from concerned to calculating. Travis, the network president began. Tonight's situation was unexpected. That's one way to put it, Travis replied, a shadow of his usual cockiness returning. The footage is already trending worldwide. The marketing head interjected, glancing at her tablet. Engagement metrics are off the charts. What we need to decide, the promotion owner said, leaning forward, is how to harness this momentum. We're thinking a full storyline, the humbling of the Titan, a redemption arc. You acknowledge the lesson, show vulnerability, then rebuild stronger than before. Travis listened, his face expressionless. We've already drafted some promo material. The marketing head continued excitedly. We're thinking t-shirts, respect is earned on the front, your logo on the back. We'll have you record a video tomorrow, emotional, raw, talking about what you learned from Chuck Norris. And we want to reach out to Norris's people, the network president added. See if he'd consider a follow-up appearance. Maybe as a special guest referee in your next title defense. The ratings would be astronomical. Travis looked from one eager face to another, seeing dollar signs in their eyes. Strategies forming in their minds, all centered on how to commodify what had just transpired. No, he said quietly. The three executives exchanged glances. I'm sorry? The promotion owner asked. I said, no, Travis repeated, more firmly this time. What happened out there tonight wasn't a storyline or a marketing opportunity. It was real. Of course it was real. The network president soothed. That's what makes it so powerful as content. That's exactly what I'm talking about, Travis interrupted, rising from his chair. You're already trying to package it, sell it, squeeze every drop of attention from it. That's what I've been doing my whole career. And tonight, I finally saw how empty that is. The executives stared at him in disbelief. Travis, the promotion owner said carefully, you're upset. It's been a dramatic evening. Why don't you take the night to think about... I've made my decision. Travis cut him off. I'm taking a break. Effective immediately. A break? The marketing head echoed, aghast. You can't. We have contracts, obligations, a whole merchandise line ready for production. Travis looked at her squarely. Check my contract. Section 12. Paragraph B. I'm entitled to a 30-day personal leave at my discretion. I'm exercising that right. The promotion owner's face reddened. This is about leverage, isn't it? You want to renegotiate after tonight's exposure. Fine, we can discuss terms. It's not about money, Travis said, moving toward the door. For once in my career, I'm doing something that isn't about attention or advancement. I need time to figure out what actually matters. And what about your fans? The network president demanded. The people who support you? Travis paused at the door. The real ones will understand. The rest were never really there for me anyway, just for the spectacle. He opened the door. I'll be in touch in 30 days. He closed the door behind him, cutting off their protests. In the hallway, he leaned against the wall for a moment, the magnitude of his decision sinking in. Then he straightened up and headed back toward his dressing room, his steps lighter than they had been in years. The following morning, a video appeared on Travis's social media accounts. Not a professionally produced promo with dramatic music and flashy graphics, but a simple selfie video shot in what appeared to be a hotel room. Travis wore a plain t-shirt, his hair unstyled, his face devoid of its usual performative confidence. "Hey everyone," he began, his voice quiet and genuine. "No hype today, no character, just me. Last night, something happened that wasn't in any script. Many of you witnessed it. For those who didn't, I'm not going to recap or try to explain it. Some moments can't be packaged or promoted. They can only be experienced." He paused, gathering his thoughts. "I've spent my career conflating attention with achievement, fame with mastery. Last night, I came face to face with the difference. I've decided to take some time away, not for dramatic effect, not as a publicity stunt, just because I need to re-examine what I'm doing and why." Another pause. "To Chuck Norris, thank you for the lesson. To my supporters, I appreciate your patience. To everyone else, maybe we all need to reconsider what we celebrate and why." The video ended there. No catchphrases, no plugs, no calls to like and subscribe. Just a moment of authentic reflection in a career built on performance. It was the most engaged with content Travis had ever posted, though not in the ways he would have previously measured success. The comment section filled not with the usual mix of adoration and hate, but with thoughtful responses, many from fellow wrestlers, fighters, and athletes, expressing respect for his honesty and self-awareness. Across town, in a private dojo where he'd been invited to teach a morning class, Chuck Norris watched the video on a student's phone. He didn't comment, didn't react expressively. But as he handed the phone back, those close enough noticed the slight nod, a subtle acknowledgement that the lesson had indeed begun to take root. 2 weeks into his self-imposed hiatus, Travis Cole knelt on the worn mat of Master Hiroshi Tanaka's traditional dojo on the outskirts of Las Vegas. Sweat dripped from his brow as he struggled to hold a basic stance that the youngest students executed with ease. His platinum hair was growing out, brown roots revealing the artifice of his former self. No cameras tracked his movements, no fans chanted his name, just the quiet correction of a 70-year-old martial arts master who treated him not as a celebrity but as a novice. "Again," Tanaka instructed calmly, demonstrating a simple blocking technique that Travis had botched for the 5th time. "Your body is present, but your mind is scattered." Travis exhaled in frustration. "I've been an athlete for 15 years. Why is this so difficult?" "Because you train to be seen, not to be effective," Tanaka replied without judgment. "Your movements are designed for applause, not purpose." The words hit Travis with unexpected force. He glanced around the modest dojo, no mirrors, no elaborate equipment, nothing to feed the ego. Just space dedicated to practice. "I don't know who I am without the performance," Travis admitted. The confession surprising. Even himself. Tanaka nodded. "That is a true beginning. Most never reach even that point of uncertainty." While Travis labored in anonymity, the executives of his wrestling promotion gathered in crisis. Charts displaying plummeting ratings and ticket sales covered the conference room table. "We're hemorrhaging momentum," the marketing director declared, slamming her tablet down. "His spiritual journey is costing us millions." The network president shook his head. "His agent says he's completely disconnected. No phone. No email." "What about Norris? Any response to our offers for a follow-up appearance?" "Nothing." Apparently, he wasn't interested in publicity either. The promotion owner's face darkened. This is absurd. We're running a business, not a spiritual retreat. We could spin this, a younger executive suggested. Where is Travis Cole? Build mystery, anticipation. And if he returns as someone we can't market? The president asked. The Titan brand is built on arrogance and spectacle. If that disappears, then we'll make him understand what his job is. The owner interrupted coldly, one way or another. Days at the dojo blended together in a rhythm of practice, meditation, and philosophical discussion. Travis's body ached from unfamiliar movements, but more painful was the mental discipline required to focus on each moment without performing for an imagined audience. Your mind wanders again, Tanaka observed during Travis's third week. Always calculating how you appear, how to position yourself for advantage. Travis wiped sweat from his face. That's been my job for a decade. It was never your job, Tanaka corrected gently. It was a habit that served your ambition. Habits can be broken through awareness. He demonstrated a turning block that Travis had struggled with for days. Watch not with your eyes alone, but with your entire attention. Where does the movement originate? What remains still while other parts move? When Travis tried again, the movement wasn't perfect, but contained a glimmer of understanding that had been absent before. Tanaka offered a slight nod, the closest thing to approval Travis had received. Better. The technique is still outside you, but now you are beginning to invite it in. By the fourth week, subtle shifts emerged. A newfound stability in his stance. A tension that remained present rather than performing. Less concern with appearance. For perhaps the first time since childhood, Travis existed fully in each moment rather than calculating its effect. On the 28th day, as Travis practiced alone before dawn, the dojo door slid open. Tanaka entered, accompanied by Chuck Norris. Travis froze mid-movement, genuinely startled. Continue, Tanaka said simply. After a moment's hesitation, Travis centered himself and resumed his practice. When he finished, he bowed respectfully to both masters. You've been busy, Chuck observed, his expression neutral. Trying to be, Travis replied. Or maybe trying not to be, depending on how you look at it. A flicker of understanding passed across Chuck's face. Hiroshi tells me you've been a dedicated student. A humbled one, Travis admitted. I had no idea how little I knew. That's the beginning of actual knowledge, Chuck said. Most never reach it. They spoke quietly for nearly an hour. No cameras, no posturing. Just three men at different stages of similar journeys. What perspective have you gained? Chuck asked directly. Travis considered carefully. That I've been chasing validation instead of mastery, confusing attention with respect. He paused. That there's more satisfaction in doing something right when no one is watching than in doing something flashy for an audience. Chuck nodded. The question is whether these insights will survive your return to the spotlight. The weight of those words settled on Travis. His hiatus was nearly complete. The promotion, his agent, his sponsors, all were pressuring him to return as the Titan, to capitalize on the publicity from their confrontation. I don't know if I can be the person they want anymore, Travis admitted, but I'm not sure who I am without that identity. Perhaps that is the next part of your journey, Tanaka suggested. Not discarding what you were, but integrating what you are becoming. Finding balance, Chuck added. Between performance and authenticity, between external validation and internal satisfaction. As evening approached, and they prepared to part ways, Chuck took Travis aside. Tomorrow, you return to your world, he said. It will try immediately to reshape you into what it expects. Travis nodded. I know. Remember this, Chuck continued. True power isn't in controlling others' perceptions, it's in remaining unmoved by them. Like you did that night in the ring, Travis observed. Chuck smiled slightly. That was just one moment. The real challenge is living that principle every day, even when no one is watching. They shook hands not as adversaries or even as teacher and student, but as men acknowledging a shared understanding. Whatever you decide, Chuck said as he turned to leave, make it a choice rather than a reaction. Travis watched him go, feeling both the weight of the impending decision and a new clarity about what actually mattered. The fall of the Titan persona was complete. What would rise in its place remained to be seen. The morning of Travis Cole's scheduled return arrived with Las Vegas already buzzing. Production crews had been working since dawn, preparing what the promotion billed as the Titan's resurrection. Backstage, tension mounted as the hours passed. Travis was nowhere to be found. Has anyone heard from him? The network president demanded, pacing the production office. The promotion owner shook his head. His agent says his 30 days ended at midnight. He's contractually obligated to be here. Outside in the corridor, Reggie Brooks leaned against the wall, listening to the mounting panic. Mia Alvarez approached. Any word? She asked quietly. Not a peep, Reggie replied. Strange, isn't it? The old Travis would have been milking this for every ounce of publicity. Maybe it's not the old Travis anymore, Reggie suggested. A production assistant burst from the office. He's here. Travis just entered the building. The man who walked through the door wasn't immediately recognizable as the Titan. The platinum hair was gone, replaced by his natural brown, cut shorter, and less dramatically styled. He wore simple jeans and a black t-shirt rather than his branded merchandise. Most notably, he carried himself differently. The exaggerated swagger replaced by a quieter confidence. Reggie studied him. Well, look who's back from the mountain. Travis smiled a genuine expression. Not the camera. Ready grin he'd perfected. Hey, coach. They embraced briefly. The month of separation, dissolving in their familiar rapport. You had them sweating bullets, Reggie said, gesturing toward the production offices. Not intentionally, Travis replied. I needed the full 30 days. As they walked to a quieter corridor, Reggie asked, So what happens now? That depends on whether the promotion will accept the changes I need to make. Changes like? Reggie pressed. Like retiring the Titan character, Travis said evenly. I can't be that person anymore, coach. I need to perform as myself, or at least a more authentic version. Reggie whistled low. They're not going to like that. The Titan is a brand they've invested millions in building. I know, Travis acknowledged. But continuing to play that role would be dishonest. They reached a quiet alcove where they could speak privately. Reggie studied his protégé, seeing subtle but significant changes, a steadier gaze, a more grounded posture. What exactly happened during your finding yourself adventure? Reggie asked. Travis smiled slightly. I found the parts of myself worth building on. With a little help from Chuck Norris, I hear, Reggie added. Travis looked surprised. How did you know that? This business runs on gossip, Reggie replied with a shrug. Someone at Tanaka's dojo recognized you. Travis nodded. I wasn't trying to keep it secret. Just private. There's a difference. A distinction the promotion isn't going to understand, Reggie warned. They've built tonight's show around the return of the Titan, not Travis Cole, the enlightened martial artist. That's why I need to speak with them before the show, Travis said. Make my position clear. Reggie studied him carefully. And if they don't accept your terms? Travis met his gaze steadily. Then I walk. My contract has a philosophical differences clause. It would cost me financially, but I've learned there are more important things than money or fame. Well, Reggie said with a hint of pride. Looks like you actually did find something on that mountain. The meeting with executives went as Travis anticipated. Shock, disbelief, anger, bargaining. This is completely unacceptable, the promotion owner fumed. You can't just throw away years of character development and marketing investment. Travis sat calmly. I'm not throwing anything away. I'm evolving. The audience will come along if the story is authentic. Authentic? The network president scoffed. This is professional wrestling, not a therapy session. They tune in for compelling stories, Travis countered. And what's more compelling than genuine transformation? After heated debate, the executives reluctantly agreed to a 3-week trial of Travis's new direction. They granted him 20 uninterrupted minutes in the ring that night to establish his new persona, with the understanding that if ratings dropped, he would return to the original character or face contract termination. As Travis turned to leave, the promotion owner called after him. What did Chuck Norris say to you that day? In the ring? Travis paused. He told me that true strength doesn't need an audience. He smiled slightly. Ironic in our business, isn't it? The arena hummed with anticipation as every seat filled. The crowd expected spectacle, the triumphant return of the Titan, with all his familiar bombast. Backstage, Travis prepared differently than he had hundreds of times before. No psyching up. No rehearsing catchphrases. Instead, he sat quietly, centering himself, focusing on the truth he wanted to convey. When his music hit a new composition reflecting transformation rather than dominance, the crowd's reaction was immediate confusion. Travis emerged without pyrotechnics or theatrical posing, walking to the ring with purpose, but without his trademark swagger. As he climbed the steps and entered between the ropes, scattered chants of "Titan! Titan!" mixed with confused silence. Travis took a microphone and stood in the center of the ring, allowing the moment to breathe. I hear you, he finally said, his voice calm and direct. You came here expecting the Titan, the character, the persona, but that's not who I am anymore. The crowd's reaction was mixed, some booing, others listening intently. 30 days ago, I stood in this ring and faced Chuck Norris. Travis continued. I thought it would be another moment of dominance for the Titan. Instead, it forced me to question everything about who I was and what I valued. The arena quieted, drawn in by his unexpected vulnerability. I've spent the last month learning not just martial arts techniques, but humility, discipline, the difference between attention and respect. Travis paced slowly, making eye contact with fans. I learned that true strength has nothing to do with how loudly you proclaim it. It's about the quality of your actions when no one is watching. Mia entered the ring for the planned interview segment. You disappeared for 30 days without social media or public appearances. What specifically were you doing during that time? Learning to be a student again, Travis answered. Training at Master Hiroshi Tanaka's dojo, starting from scratch, with no shortcuts or special treatment. And Chuck Norris? Mia prompted. There were rumors he visited you. Travis nodded. He did. Not to continue any rivalry, but to offer perspective. To show me that it's possible to maintain your center even in the spotlight. So what does this mean for the Titan persona that fans have followed for years? The Titan is gone, Travis said simply. That character served a purpose, but also trapped me in a cycle of always needing to be louder, more outrageous. What you see now is Travis Cole, still a competitor, still dedicated to excellence, but no longer performing strength, embodying it. The crowd's reaction was divided. Boos from those who came for spectacle. Cheers from those who recognized authenticity. "I know this isn't what some of you expected," Travis acknowledged. "You paid to see a character I can no longer be. But I'm offering something more valuable. Something real. A story about transformation, about finding strength in humility, about earning respect rather than demanding attention." The crowd's reaction evolved as he spoke, initial shock, giving way to engagement with something unexpectedly authentic in an environment built on performance. "Travis," Mia asked. "Critics might say this is just another character, the enlightened wrestler, instead of the Titan. How do you respond?" Travis smiled genuinely. "They might be right. We're all performing versions of ourselves. But this version is aligned with my actual values. It's a direction, not a destination." He handed the microphone back to Mia and exited with the same quiet purpose with which he had entered, a man who had said what needed to be said and was prepared to let actions speak from that point forward. 2 months later, Travis sat alone on the beach near his home as the sun set. His phone buzzed. The quarterly ratings confirmed what had become evident. The authentic approach was working. Viewership was up. Merchandise bearing his actual name outsold projections. Most significantly, a new demographic of viewers had emerged. People who had previously dismissed wrestling were drawn to the more grounded, respect-based narrative. Reggie called for their weekly check-in. "The suits are calling it the Cole Renaissance," he reported with satisfaction. "Already trying to get other wrestlers to follow your lead." Travis laughed softly. That would defeat the purpose, wouldn't it? Everyone following the same template of authenticity? As they were about to hang up, Reggie added, "Almost forgot. You got a package at the training center. No return address." "What is it?" Travis asked. "A book. The True Measure of a Man, by Richard Simmons. Inside cover has a handwritten note. The journey continues. CN. A smile spread across Travis's face. "Chuck Norris." "Figured as much," Reggie said. "Man of few words. Even in writing." After they hung up, Travis watched the waves roll in. The sun sank below the horizon, brilliant orange fading to deep purple. In the growing darkness, the roar of the ocean replaced the roar of the crowd. A different kind of power, ancient and enduring. He thought about his journey from the humbling confrontation with Chuck Norris to the disciplined training at Tanaka's dojo to his professional rebirth. What had begun as a public challenge had become a private transformation, then evolved into a new kind of public example. The path wasn't perfect. There were still moments of ego, of craving validation. But now he recognized those moments when they arose, observed them with awareness rather than identification. As Travis walked back toward his home, he reflected on the silence that had followed his fall. Not an empty silence of defeat, but the profound quiet that comes from alignment between inner values and outer actions. In that silence, he had found something more valuable than applause, more enduring than fame, the quiet satisfaction of living authentically, regardless of who might be watching. The roar of fame had been intoxicating, but the silence that followed was where he had finally heard his own true voice. Up next, we have 2 more incredible stories that are waiting for you. Just click the image you want to watch, and it will take you there. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to subscribe. It would mean a lot.